Hello, my name is Alicia and I'm one of the founders of Mtopp, the Movement to Protect the People. On March 17, 2014, Community Board 9 held a listening forum. Here is Pearl Miles, District Manager of Community Board 9's statement at that meeting.
So we're listening to all of you based on where you live to make it easier and kind of manageable. And after that, we're going to put all of your thoughts, summarize them, all the wishes, all the thoughts, everything that's expressed here tonight. We're going to summarize it into one document. We're going to bring it to the board meeting on the 25th, which is next Tuesday.
There were 5 general categories that people were concerned about in regards to the proposed study area that is now being considered by Community Board 9 to present to city planning. No towers, no luxury development and displacement, unfair practices based on race and class, preservation of the community, negative impact caused by density. Here are those statements.
And we don't want to have to see tall buildings. Some of us in our neighborhood would be just horrified to see 25-story apartment buildings or luxury houses.
We're trying to do a general downzoning.
If you have 200 units of luxury housing showing up, guess what? More than 50 units of housing are going to go out of the affordable category. I just think that we gotta be careful, otherwise we're not gonna have our neighbors be with us for very long.
Is that this is the only area around the park that hasn't been allowed to downzone. We are the only community. Ask yourselves why we have not been allowed to downzone. Think about it. Look at the income level of our neighborhood compared to all the other neighborhoods. Look at the complexion of the people in our neighborhood compared to all the other neighborhoods. This is a real problem.
Because we don't have the things that are necessary for infrastructure to hold all these people.
What about asthma in children and other public safety issues that come with the number of people and the congestion?
There's one huge thing that we know predicts kids' negative health consequences, and that's crowding and residential density.
We know a resolution was created, but who drafted this resolution? In the CB9 minutes, it states clearly that Pearl Miles created and is the sole author of this document. For it states, presenting the summarization report is District Manager Pearl Miles. A summary was compiled of what was said at the forum. A resolution was also formulated, and that is the document that was distributed tonight. Her authorship was supported by the comments of members. Tim Thomas said, "What Pearl did, which is incredibly helpful, is take all those statements and put them into one document." First, let's see the proposed study area that is being considered, so we know what we're talking about. This map was sent by Pearl Miles to members of the community in September 2014. The parameters are from Eastern Parkway all the way to Clawson Avenue and across from Washington Flatbush Ocean Avenue to New York Avenue. Now for the details, because the devil is in the details. Paragraph 2 says, adjust current zoning designation to conform to prevailing uses and densities. This means that you could look at a block and change the zoning to match what is currently there. No one mentioned this type of issue, and this phrase has the potential to upzone as well as downzone. For example, let's take Lefferts Avenue between Bedford and Flatbush. This block has 6-story residential buildings on one side and 2-story buildings on another. It is clear for us that we would want to downzone to ensure that there are no more 6-story buildings built on this block, protecting the 2-story row houses. However, the developers would want the ability to actually increase residential density because that is how they make money. Both ways will be adjusting to the current prevailing uses, but which one would win? You guessed it, because the community voice will be by this time during the study. Be just advisory. Developers would win. Thus, this phrase needs to be taken out because it will not be in our best interest. Now let's go back to the resolution. Item number 4, increase residential and retail density along the transit and commercial corridors. This means in people's terms that there will be higher buildings built to put more people into the community all along any street that has either bus or train service. As this new map says, all the red lines are those transit corridors. As you can see, that is all of our major streets: Empire Boulevard, Bedford, Nostrand, Washington. All these streets have transit access. In fact, this is exactly what Borough President Eric Adams has stated on June 8th at 15 Crown Street. He talked about protecting the in-between streets, but building up on the avenues, like 4th Avenue, Atlantic Avenue, Empire Boulevard. This type of rezoning, transit corridors, has been cited by HUD to have the potential to spur gentrification and displace residents in low and moderate income areas. And yet this very issue was brought up by residents in the community as a major concern.
The homes in Brooklyn, especially Nostrand Avenue, there's a lot of private homes there, there are a lot of commercial buildings there, and the landlords are trying to run out a lot of the people who've been living in some of these commercial buildings to bring in the so-called highfalutin friends, I don't know where, or whomever they're trying to get in there to pay more money. And we have to fight for that.
However, there's one section that was protected in this request. Implement a text change for the institution of special height and setback regulations in the R71 zone areas in Community District 9 pursuant to the Quality of Housing Program. The green in the safe area, the R71 zone, which is protected because it states clearly the area in the study, the need for it to be treated specially, and it refers to the type of conditions it is wanting by referencing it back to the Quality Housing Program. Thus, city planning would have to study that and nothing else. In fact, that is exactly what our entire community should have. Exact details as to the area, the zone, and what we want, being as specific as possible. No vagueness to give the developers an avenue to manipulate and change what we want. Now back to the resolution, because it gets worse. Paragraph 3 states, create opportunities for affordable housing, identify areas of inclusionary zoning. This is the big one. The blue area are the streets that could have inclusionary zoning, and is done as an example. Inclusionary zoning is a developer's dream. It allows three things. If they use taxpayers' money to build 20% affordable units in a luxury development plan, they can have 33% more floor space than the current laws allows. For example, at 626 Flatbush, if this was an inclusionary zone, instead of building 23 stories, they could possibly go up to 30 stories. Number 2, they're allowed to build 2 separate buildings for the development plan. So one building, the luxury one of course, can be built, let's say, around Washington Avenue to get those park and garden views. And another can be built as far away as possible, like on New York Avenue. Now the air rights become marketable, and buildings can build over the existing buildings. And who's going to decide where these inclusionary zones was going to be done? Well, we did not, so of course city planning would. In fact, we never even talked about any type of inclusionary zoning. But city planning would say, but this is what you asked for in the resolution, and wasn't it voted upon by CB9? Didn't you give us permission to make those decisions for you? Here is Pearl Miles' statement from the Community Board 9 meeting. The Department of City Planning will be doing the study of the district. They are the ones who will help us with what gets changed and what doesn't get changed. But did not Tom Agati, chairman of urban planning at Hunter College, say that the Department of City Planning was in the pockets of the developers? This resolution handed over our entire community to the developers and gave them free rein to do as they please. In fact, city planning said that this was the best resolution they have ever gotten from a community board. One last thing. I know it seems to never end. Let's go back to the proposed study again that was sent to community by Pearl Miles in September 2014. As you can see, it begins at Washington Avenue, right against the garden at Eastern Parkway. And now I want you to look at the same area that is currently zoned, the yellow area. As you can see, there are letters R7, R8, and they have A's after these combinations in the yellow sections. This means that these areas already have height restrictions. However, this area could now be rezoned because it is included in the new study parameters. That's right, just because a section is protected does not mean it is permanent. The city can always come back and rezone it if there is a request to do so. But why? There are two guesses. First, the most obvious is that they want to be able to build along Washington Avenue to get those park and garden views. As I stated before, do you really think developers care about plants? They don't even care about people. So you know plants are way down on their list as a priority. Or second, is that by putting this area again on the chopping block, the city would get the cooperations of the Friends of the Garden to use their political power to upzone another area to save the garden. Part of those negotiations that Winston, Director of City Planning of Brooklyn, kept talking about all throughout our meetings. Now, how do we get into this situation? Divide and conquer. And city planning is behind it. They basically said parts to the community. If you want to protect your area, okay, fine. Then give us this area. While everyone kept assuming it was only Empire Boulevard, city planning used these selfish, secretive, and fear factors to push a resolution that gave up everything, including the garden and the park. This is a community, and if we're truly going to protect ourselves, then this separatist, I only want to protect my part, has to go. We have to stay united, or divided we fall. No part of this community should be the sacrificial lamb for any other part. Professor Thomas Angadi said to us, we must unite because city planning works for the developers. They are not interested in preserving communities. He also said you don't have to upzone any area to downzone any other area. And this fact is true. Each section of this community must say that they will support every other section not to be upzoned. This includes the Friends of the Garden and the park. Otherwise, they will tear us apart and have towers all over this community, as the present resolution attests to. Finally, to be clear, Mtopp has never been against the study. We have been against what was on the resolution to study. Why? Because as Professor Tamagadi said, what city planning studies gets passed. Out of 130 studies, 130 studies were passed. Thus, if we want to downzone, then we need to study downzoning and not upzoning. It took a lot of organizing to stop this resolution, and now we are looking for support from every part of this community. It might not have been clear what we were doing on September the 23rd, but it was clear to us, and hopefully it is now clear to you. We have a vision for Empire Boulevard, and we're asking for support from the garden and the park in creating that vision, and at the same time protecting this entire community from the developers. We are a community of gardeners. We have dominated the Greenest Block in Brooklyn Awards. Why can't we make a boulevard that contains that community spirit, drive, and knowledge? With the strong support from Friends of the Park and Garden, we can extend the beauty of the park and garden into a light and airy boulevard instead of a community overcrowded, congesting, putting our homes and gardens in the dark. Finding this obvious scam to get exactly what we didn't want was already noted on March 17th by keeping us in the dark.
We, all of us here tonight, doesn't understand the art, rules of the art. I think that is something should have been explained so we understand what's going on. Now I think it is designed so that to keep it out of the loop.
I know a few are asking, is it legal what Pearl has done? Since she is a city employee and is supposed to serve the board, thus the community, can she blatantly lie on a legal document which would cause the entire community to have changes that we never wanted? That is a question that we all need to be asking the District Attorney, Ken Thompson. His number to the Public Integrity Hotline is 718-250-2740. Please call him and ask for an investigation into this matter. There are other things that you can do. Call CB9 at 718-778-9279. and request to be put onto the agenda for CB9 meeting on Tuesday, October the 28th. Call between the hours of 9 and 5 p.m. Don't leave a message. You must speak to someone to get your name down. Then come to the CB9 meeting on Tuesday, October 28th at Medgar Evers College at 1638 Bedford Avenue on the corner of Carroll, and speak. The politicians are saying they want to hear from you. Now is your time to be heard. Let them know you want them to get rid of this resolution that Pearl Miles created, and you are demanding that they go to the mayor to gain assistance on preserving our affordable community. And let them know you don't want any luxury development, because that means skyscrapers and displacement of our people. To show your solidarity and support, buy an Mtopp t-shirt. We hope to bring awareness as well as raise some funds for our expenses, and your support is greatly appreciated. Another point that Professor Angadi stated was the need to get our politicians in line and to engage in every organizing tactic available. Thus, we are going to be demonstrating at Councilman Eugene's office to get him to make a commitment to follow our lead. We will be going on Wednesday, November the 5th, between 12 and 2 at 250 Broadway in Manhattan. Please come out and support that. Lastly, please support us by making a donation and signing our petition to stay involved and connected to what we are doing. Please go to www.mtopp.org. That's www.mtopp.org. And don't forget to wear green to the next Community Board 9 meeting on Tuesday, October the 28th at 7 p.m. And thanks for listening. Bye. It has come to our attention that the Executive Board of Community Board 9 has not put the resolution back on the agenda despite the overwhelming confusion surrounding the vote on September the 23rd and the comments made by elected officials and CB9 members for the need to create dialogue with the community around this resolution. These evasive tactics will just continue to foster distrust and to question Executive Board 9's ability to truly represent the interest of this community. So we behoove you to continue to stay active, to come to these board meetings, to demand full disclosure, that you stay involved, because the future of our community rests in your hands.